Shelina Janmuhammed, Vice President dari OGILVY NOOR dan juga salah seorang pemateri di gelaran ADASIA 2017 beberapa saat lalu itu ternyata mempunyai keinginan yang besar untuk memperlihatkan bagaimana generasi muda muslim saat ini ke dunia. Dan seperti apa persisnya ini keinginannya? Berikut adalah petikan wawancara eksklusif rekan kami Gita Natalia dengan Shelina Janmuhammed beberapa saat yang lalu.
Iya, muda, kreatif, dan juga sedang giat-giatnya mengkampanyekan mengenai M Generation. Nah, ini dia saya sudah bersama dengan Shelina Janmuhammed, seorang penulis buku M Generation dan juga Vice President dari OGILVY NOOR. Nah, kita akan langsung ngobrol dengan Shelina. Hello Shelina, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, how's your visit in Bali?
It's been amazing so far. People are so friendly, weather is so great, such a great atmosphere at the conference.
Now let's talk about your book, right? The M Generation. I found it quite fascinating. You talk a lot about this M Generation. So who exactly this M Generation?
So when we look at the global Muslim population, within it there is a young demographic, about 15 to 35 years old. And they believe that being faithful and living in the modern world go hand in hand. So they have a world view where they want to be faithful, but they want to have everything that the world offers to them.
Okay, so the M Generation is like the biggest community, right? So after people read this book, what expectation that you want to get?
So the first thing is I want people to understand the world better than we do at the moment, because we read so many headlines, there's so many political discussions, but actually the story of young Muslims is important wherever you are in the world, because they're so young and they influence all of our future. But for businesses in particular, I want them to think about, is it right for them to engage, how to engage, and how to better communicate with this audience, because this audience wants businesses to react to them based on their Muslim identity.
So, how important that you find the people or the world have to know better about this M Generation?
So this is something that everybody should know about, whether you're in politics, whether you're making policy, whether you're just somebody who wants to understand the world better. This is an important book for you to read.
Okay, not just to the M Generation, but to the world, right?
Everybody needs to read it, and it's very interesting the way people talk about their reactions to it. So people who are Muslim leaders, they'll say, we now understand the younger Muslims better. For Generation M themselves, they have the best reaction, because when they read the book, they write to me, or when they hear my presentation, they say, finally I understand what is my place in the world, and I realize that I'm not alone in it, and actually I'm part of something much bigger, and you've given me an identity that I realize is what I'm all about.
I agree. Okay, so we're gonna talk about your first book, right? In your first book, Love in a Headscarf.
Love in a Headscarf.
I'm sorry. Love in a Headscarf. You talk a lot about Muslim women, and I found it like your illustration that you use in this book is so interesting. Could you please tell us about why you choose that illustration?
So Love in a Headscarf was my story. Generation M is the story of lots of, it's my own memoir, so my story of growing up as a Muslim woman and some of the challenges that come with it. And I wanted to write something that was very positive, very optimistic, funny, like a romantic comedy about growing up as a Muslim woman. And so when we came to choose the cover, we had a long discussion with my editors, and some of the images they chose were really depressing about Muslim women, you know, kind of they didn't have a face, or, you know, they wore long clothes. And so we spent a lot of time looking at the images of Muslim women, and in the end we picked one which is a young woman, her headscarf flowing in the air, driving a fast car to the London skyline.
When I saw it, I feel like some free will that you want to sending.
Yeah, and we wanted to create something that was very cool and very different to anything else that was out there. And when it was published, it did. It still looks very contemporary. It still looks like you want to be that woman. And that's exactly what we wanted to convey with the cover.
Okay, so you talk a lot about Muslim women especially. So how you found it, the challenge, be a woman, a Muslim woman, in the world, like everything happens in the world like this?
There are so many expectations that Muslim women in particular have, whether that's in the family and in tradition, or whether that's some of the global news coverage we have about Muslim women being oppressed and submissive and not having a voice. And for me, it's been really important as a writer, as a public speaker, to be able to dispel those ideas and those myths and actually talk about the reality of what it's like to be a Muslim woman, some of which is hilarious, some of which is funny, some of which is difficult, but to really help people to understand a real story of what it really means to be a Muslim woman.
Do you have some message that you want to send to all the M generation in Indonesia?
What I'd want to say is there is a power in Generation M and they can change the world. And Indonesia is one of those pioneering countries and you have every opportunity to make a huge global impact, even with the smallest things you can do. So please do it. Go ahead and make the world a better place.
Okay, once more. Maybe to Muslim women in here, like, they have some empowerment words to them.
Every woman has a voice. And it's so important to use that voice, whether that's to change the people around you or to change the wider world. But you are unique and you need to make a difference, and you have that power to make a difference. There's no excuse, just go out and do it.
Thank you so much, Shelina, for this inspirational interview. Thank you so much and have fun in Bali. Okay. Itu dia perbincangan saya dengan Shelina Janmuhammed, seorang penulis buku dan juga Vice President dari OGILVY. Dan kembali studio.
Udah selesai kan nontonnya? Nah, jadi jangan lupa buat like, komen, dan subscribe ya.